In today's episode, write a 10-page essay, because I was on the phone. My manager thought hiding my quota would make me work more. Call 911 or get me your supervisor. So let's get started. Write a 10-page essay, because I was on the phone. Disclaimer, this happened back when I was around 12 to 14. Due to medical issues, my memory is not very reliable, but does come in spurts, so some of the details may be fuzzy. So this happened during a drama class around either my junior high or early high school years. Now my school was in a small town where, at the time, all the sects of the school, elementary, middle, etc., were in walking distance of each other, with the old middle school used as an administrative building. Behind that is where the drama building was. I say this to show why it wouldn't have been possible for the drama teacher to just get another teacher to watch the class while he made this call. We all come in and sit in the semi-circle of chairs just to kind of wait and talk amongst ourselves. Well, I just kind of sat there quietly. I didn't really have friends in the class, before Mr. Drama comes in on his phone. Mr. Drama says nothing to us as he just gets on the school line phone and continues this call. Okay, so you have a bunch of kids in there with nothing to do. People start playing hangman on the board. I joined in, of course. Those who had data on their phones were hiding in the corner texting or on their internet, just basically passing our last period class time any way we could since we hadn't been given instruction. Now I remember we were getting loud with him on the phone, but not once did he even act like this was a problem. Until he hung up and yelled for us to sit in our seats. This was where he proceeded to lecture us about manners, etiquette, and a whole bunch of other BS while we just sat there shocked as he blatantly said he expected us to just sit there and wait for instruction. We are at 10 minutes left for class at this point, I believe, and classes ran up to 50 minutes to an hour. This is where he breaks to us that he expected us to come in the next class period, which was the next day, with a 10-page essay on manners and how to behave in classrooms. He also said this would count for 25% of our grade. Then he just left. Now all of us were angry. Some were saying let's just not do it, but others knew their parents wouldn't allow it, and they always found out. I think he sent an email about it, I don't remember. Others were joking about just writing the words F you over and over again. I remained quiet and just smiled as I came up with an idea. As I said, I don't have a lot of memory of back then, so I don't recall if I told anyone of my plan, but this is where my malicious compliance comes into play. I go home and talk it over with my mom. She can be an entitled parent, but always picks and chooses when to side with the teachers. After hearing my side, she asked me what I wanted to do. I told her I was going to write a 2-page paper calling him out, hidden under what he wanted. She grinned and told me to use her office at home as it had Word on it, and she could help me format it. I feel older than I should saying this. Side note, I always excelled in English. So grammar and the like were never an issue for me, but it was around the beginning of high school the school started noticing that I had signs of dyslexia. I had just always made high grades and had someone double check my work, so it was never noticed until my AP courses. It's weird. With this in mind, I began writing a hugely passive-aggressive paper using all the knowledge I had up to that point. It included scenarios that depicted ours but showed that the fault could lie with both parties, as the teacher never gave instructions to the students. And metaphors and similes and everything, treating it like a paper I would seriously turn in. I did not go over my 2-page mark I gave myself. My entire plan was to point out that yes, we could have acted better, but we are kids and he is an adult who gave no instruction to us. Mom checked everything, made suggestions, printed it out, and kicked me out of her office to work on accounting. The day of the turn-in comes and only a few of the students actually did the paper, while others stood their ground that doing it meant they were at fault, which no one blamed them for. He expresses his extreme disappointment in the lack of obedience as he reads someone's paper out loud. Then he gets to mine and looks confused as it's only 2 pages. Probably because I'm a notorious teacher's pet. So he began reading. As he is reading, you can hear in the tone of his voice that he realizes the paper is calling him out on his false anger, and I'm just feeling proud of myself, grinning. I'm a normally shy person that never speaks out against anyone, especially a teacher, yet here I was. He finishes reading and goes really quiet. Everyone is quiet too. He still has a handful to read, but he sets them down in size. He admits the paper makes a good point about misplacing blame and not taking it, and he excuses himself from the room, asking us to stay seated this time. I just remember a few of my peers saying "way to go" and "good job." And that alone made this little introvert feel really special, if only for the rest of the day. Mr. Drama ended up throwing the papers away, giving extra credit to anyone that turned it in at least, and was just extra careful to always tell us what to do before making any more calls like that in the future. The next time I stood up to a teacher was in another high school I transferred to later. He was a sexist preacher, and I maliciously complied to him in front of the entire school, using his own Bible verses against him as a female. But that's a story for another time. Stay safe. My manager thought hiding my quota would make me work more. I started working at a chain supermarket in November 2019. I worked as a Cap 2 associate, stocking shelves, unloading trucks, stuff like that. My supervisor when I started was amazing. She had some higher expectations than possible for me only working there for a month, but generally, I would get a quota, say, 8 hours, and would have to get that section done in that time frame. Any time exceeding the 8-hour workday I had would warrant someone getting sent over from a smaller section of our department to help me wrap it up. Skip ahead another month and she has to go on leave for about a month. My average quota gets up to about 14 to 16 hours a day, and our manager gets moved to the night shift. In comes a new manager. This guy was a nightmare. I stopped getting help in the juice and water section that I worked, and ended up with a few large pallets left at night for the overnight crews because, like I said, I was getting 14 to 16 hour quotas to fulfill in my 8-hour shift. Once the DM stopped helping him make the sheets and gave him control, he started pulling me to the side and constantly told me to work faster, to which I would reply, "I'm working as fast as I can. I'm getting double the amount of work to do in the same amount of time." He doesn't listen. Then comes the first week of February. I check my department, still working in juice and water. Great, my specialty. I look over at the quota. It's blank. I think nothing of it, get my usual amount of pallets, and don't finish them all. This goes on for about a week before he comes up to me again. "OP, you aren't getting your quota done on time." I can't get it done on time if I can't see the amount of time it's supposed to take, plus it hasn't changed in quantity since January. I'm still getting a bunch of freight to move to the floor. "You really need to start finishing your quota either way, overnights are complaining. Can you at least send someone over from paper and chem? The fastest aisles, usually done in 4 hours. No, you have to do what you can do." Here comes the malicious compliance. I still wasn't getting my quotas printed, but everyone else was. I timed how long it took me to unload and stock a pallet, and in Lacart, what they use to haul TVs to your vehicle and such, my average time was 1:30 for each pallet, which I had to move 2,500 pounds of liquids by myself onto the floor using a normal jack. Carts took me about 30 minutes. My average night had 2 carts and 7-8 pallets from the GM truck, and the product that gets pulled in the morning. Every day we had to unload trucks for a different department that worked at the same time as us, and take an hour lunch. That takes up about 120 out of my 8-hour workday. We also had to pull everything unloaded from the GM truck to the floor for overnights an hour before closing. From then on I started checking out the pallets and carts, then wrote in the time that it would take me on the quota sheets. Still around 13 hours of labor on a light night, including unloading the other truck for the other department. I stop unloading the trucks that come in, and taking half lunches and no breaks. They required 15-minute breaks 2 hours before and after lunch. I ask my friend in the aisle next to me if they can grab the coffee, tea, syrups, anything else that was technically theirs that I still had to stock for them. They had no problem with it, and it took about a full pallet and a cart away from my time. I started staying late and stopped pulling GM freight for the overnight crew. After a large check full of overtime and scolding from higher-ups on skipping my breaks, my manager finally says something. "Why aren't you helping out with the trucks? You told me to just worry about my quota. You need to start helping out your coworkers. And you can't skip breaks and lunches and work late. That gets me in trouble, and you. Well, I need to get the quota done. You told me that's what I had to do no matter what. You need to get it done and still help. I can't do that in the time I'm given. I can see I'm getting nowhere, just go. Every day after that I started getting not only quotas, but 2 additional people would be unloading juice and water pallets with me, and make me go to lunch with them and on breaks. I quit in March to move to VA, but I would never work there again. Call 911 or get me your supervisor. Around 2008 I was working in a call center for a major cell phone company in the USA. The job was soul-sucking and the entitled customers were the worst. I tried to go above and beyond on every call, but some people will never be satisfied. Enter a particular customer, let's call her Karen because the stereotype fit her to a T. Here's a rundown of how our call went that glorious day. Me, thank you for calling cell phone company, my name is Papaya Cake. How can I help you? Karen, my house is on fire and you need to call 911 right now. Me, oh my goodness, I'm terribly sorry for what you are going through. I recommend you hang up right now and dial 911 so they can send the fire department to save your house. Karen, I pay my phone bill every month, you work for me. You better call 911 before my house is completely gone. Me, I really wish I could do that for you, but 911 is alerted based on your location. I'm 1,000 miles away from you, and if I dial 911 then the cops are going to show up at my location, not yours. I don't even have the ability to access the internet to look up your local emergency services. I don't want to waste your time while your house is burning, so please hang up and call them right now. Karen, what kind of customer service is this? The customer is always right, and now it is your fault that my house is still on fire. You better call 911 right now, or get me your supervisor. Malicious compliance time. Me, yes ma'am. Since I am unable to dial 911 on your behalf, please hold while I see if my supervisor is available to discuss this matter with you further. Per company policy, we were not allowed to keep customers on hold for longer than 2 minutes without checking in with them. It took me about 10 seconds to explain the situation to my supervisor. He had dealt with his fair share of these idiots, so he told me to keep her on hold for the full 2 minutes before transferring the call. At exactly the 2-minute mark, I get back on the line. Me, thank you for holding, I'm connecting you with my supervisor, John Doe, right now. Karen, it's about F***ing time. You are going to pay me for all the damage you've caused. Me, in my most pleasantly fake customer service voice, thanks for your call today, have a fantastic day. The fallout, I put her back on hold to transfer her to John. This caused the 2-minute hold allowance to start over again. He made her stay on hold for the full 2 minutes before he picked up the line. Why she hadn't hung up at this point is beyond me, but she was not going to lose the customer is always right argument, even at the loss of her home. John essentially repeated exactly what I said to her and, shocker, she did not take it very well at all. In fact, she was so mad that she escalated to his supervisor. Back on hold she went while her house is burning to the ground because she's too stubborn to call 911 for herself. Legend has it, she is still on hold to this day waiting for someone to call 911 for her. Just joking, she disconnected the call before she got to John's supervisor. Out of curiosity, John pulled the call to listen to it because she was an absolute raging nut job. The calls are all recorded, including what the customer is saying while they are on hold. Turns out that while she had been screaming at us and escalating, one of her neighbors did end up calling 911. So while she was on hold waiting for John's supervisor, you could hear sirens in the background and Karen says it's about F***ing time. These idiots took long enough to send help and hung up. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.